Hello. Figured today was a good day to be here. Possibly the last show and all. Oh, hey, Derek. Thanks for coming. How are you guys? Charles is here. Hi, Charles. And Chuck and a bunch of other people. John McKee doing the roll call like he does, which is very kind of him. There's John, there's Matthew, there's Dow, Hank, Frank, Roger, Donna, Brian, Eugene, Chuck, Andrew, Charles, Webb, Gary, Amy, David, Paul, and Derek. Hey, everybody. Not much really planned. I've got some email, so we'll do some feedback. It'll be fun, I think. I don't know. Another t-shirt. Yeah, okay, there we go, Webb. Yes, this was a gift. This was a gift from because it was my birthday this week, as you know, if you've been watching this. And the 10-year-old in the house picked this out by herself, all by herself, which is very sweet, and just could not be more excited to give it to me. Plus, I started the week of t-shirts with a Mickey Mouse shirt, so why not? Anyway, let's do a thing. What do you say? School's out. It's Friday, the 19th of March, 2021, and this is macOS Can Live. I was talking it over with a friend of mine about doing the last show, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm having trouble coming up with anything," and she's like, "Yeah, because it's the last day of school." Yeah, last day of school. There you go. Uh, if I could, I'd just wheel in the AV cart and we'd watch a movie. Probably not. I got some really nice email and some other email as well. Not mean, no mean email, but I got some nice email I wanted to share. So what do you say? Once more into the breach. One email that I got is not about, the show wrapping up, because I did get a few emails about the show wrapping up. So, we'll talk about that. But Eugene wrote in after saying some nice things about, the show and how he's sorry to see it go. He talked about the aha moments that we've been talking about in a few minutes for the past few weeks, which was actually born of this show right here. So Eugene had an aha moment around AR and VR, which of course Jeff Gamet and I talked about. The aha moment was NFT for Jeff Gamet on Wednesday, but that rolled into the AR VR stuff on Thursday. Consider one of the often touted benefits of AR, superimposition of information about unfamiliar surroundings, says Eugene. You travel to Paris to get away from your parents. You travel to Paris and get directions, information, and perhaps even news about the area you're in and the things you're looking at. It's probably one of the least imaginative but most likely scenarios. Consider how that might work. Would you be forced to run a single AR app at a time? So, for example, if you're in Paris, do you call up the Yelp AR to find some place to eat, but call up the Airbnb AR app to find a place to stay? And then the Louvre AR app when you go into the Louvre? Or does Apple build it all into Apple Maps and just bypass the others like they do with some services now? Or would there be some form of AR app informational stack that gets loaded where multiple AR apps could be acting at once? There are a lot of questions and no answers at the moment. But assuming that Apple wants developers to create separate AR apps, how the heck does a small developer in Eldon, Missouri develop and test such an app? Unless they enlist a worldwide network of alpha testers, it seems impractical to fly around to Paris, Buenos Aires, and wherever else, making sure even things rudimentarily work. When you were talking about the M1 DTKs that Apple sold to get developers a leg up, the aha hit me. What if an Apple VR helmet tied to Apple Maps look around could be used to simulate going places for the purposes of developing AR apps? Pure speculation on my part, says Eugene, and maybe I'm reading more difficulty into testing an environment-based AR system than there really is, but when the thought struck me, it seemed to make a lot more sense than Apple making VR to get into gaming. So says Tim. Did I say Tim? I said Eugene. Wait a minute. Tim's later. That was Eugene. My apologies. I forgot to put a line between those two. So says Eugene. Boy, there's a whole lot of really interesting stuff to unpack there. I never really honestly assumed that AR apps would be Honestly, anything but games or experiential. I assume that everything that Apple is doing with Maps and with Look Around means it's gonna be Apple doing that. And then the people that they have partnered with to do stuff like that, like, I believe, Yelp well, interesting. I believe they tie into Yelp for Apple Maps, but I know there's some other stuff that's more crowdsourced as well. So I kind of assume that the walking around in the real world thing is going to be a thing where Apple is going to give you that information. I got kind of horrified when Eugene was saying, "Do I run, like this one app for AR and this one app for this other thing and this other thing for the other thing?" I think this is all machine learning. I think this is ambient computing. I think this is Apple's virtual assistant. I think the whole thing ends up working like Friday does for Tony Stark in the last few Iron Man movies. Once Jarvis became Vision, he built a new AI. It was his girl Friday, right? And so he would tap his glasses and say, "Friday, what am I looking at?" And the machine learning that is Friday, of course, it's a movie, but we've talked on this show about how much better. Sorry, I'm pointing at my phone. We've talked on this show how much better. I guess I could just as easily point at my computer and my iPad and my TV and even my watch, though. We've talked about how much better Siri is getting, how much Apple's artificial intelligence is getting. There's a story out today that Apple's AR thing is going to have visual tracking. I don't know how that's going to work. I haven't even read the articles. I've just seen the headlines all over the place. It's possible that Apple's machine learning and virtual assistant is going to know what you're looking at and what kind of information it should present. It's probably going to fold all of that information into just sort of a natural, I'm looking around. The thing that I'm looking at is probably the thing I want to know about. So it's going to go ahead and pop that up for me. Seems like a possibility. Now, I think there's still room for individual developers to play with AR. And I think it's a lot of fun. Honestly, I love the idea of what's the best way to say it? Could we sell art that covers the world? Could we sell a canvas that covers the world in a way? So you've got the AR glasses, and maybe you could actually go and spray paint the side of a building. Of course, you're not actually painting anything because there's no actual paint there. You're just doing artwork that other people who are tied into the same network, who are tied into the same hardware, who are tied into the same ecosystem can see. There's a chance that the world ends up getting really junked up that way. And of course, there's a chance that horrible people say and post horrible things just like they do on Facebook and Twitter and every place else. There's also a chance for real beauty. There's also a chance to see things the way other people see them in ways that we don't necessarily get to right now. Now, of course, the barrier to entry is going to be $1,000, pair of glasses or however much, the AR thing ends up costing. So it's not like people used to say about podcasting. It's not, "Ooh, democratizing media" or anything like that, because the barrier to entry is still going to be fairly high. But the barrier to entry for most technology is in the beginning, and it comes down. All of which is to say, I think the kinds of things where you go to a food court and you look around and you can see the grades that everything got from the local health department. That's the kind of thing that Apple's going to do on its side, from information supplied by whatever city you live in. The centerpiece on your table that doesn't exist, or the statue that you're walking around that doesn't exist, or the flock of birds that comes through every now and then, or the butterfly that lands on your microphone if you're sitting there, or on your table or whatever. Those individual things, I think, are where individual app developers can play. But who knows? It's like Eugene said, we're all making it up right now, which honestly is more fun, probably more fun than the AR thing is actually going to be. Fingers crossed that I'm wrong about that. But, right now it can be anything we want to. I know I've quoted it a million times, but Michael Gartenberg told me years ago, nothing beats the imaginary Apple product. And he's absolutely right. Let's see. The rest of the things probably just going to be us talking about some of the stuff with the show because I got a couple of really nice emails that I can share and a couple of nice emails that I'm going to keep to myself. Tim wrote in to say, just wanted to send you a quick note to say thanks for doing the live show. Tim said he wouldn't be able to make it today. Won't be able to make it to today's show to say this in person, but the times I did make it to the show was great fun. I'm going to keep that part just for a second because I think that's how I want to wrap up. Brian wrote in to say, I'm sorry that the daily live show isn't a possibility, but I completely understand. That said, I like the idea of a live show after big Apple events, product announcement events, WWDC, quarterly earnings. There's a lot of news to share around these events, and the feedback from your audience would really add to the news and analysis that you provide. Would it be helpful to do such live shows with other Apple or tech podcasters? That's an interesting idea. Regardless of any for future live shows. Oh, see, that's nice. I'm not going to read that. You're an important part of the Apple community and look forward to celebrating 25 years of podcasting when that day comes. So says Brian. Yeah, I swallowed that part because, Chuck sent a very professional comment or an email full of professional comments, which I'm going to keep to myself because that's podcaster to podcaster talk. Paul also sent an email that was more personal comments, for which I'm also appreciative. I'm not going to read that because it was personal. Paul did have one interesting comment, though. He said that he likes the idea for me because the way Paul sees it is I always want to do more. And I don't know what that's about, Paul, but you're not wrong. I always want to do more. And I sit around for a while and I think, well, I got a little extra time here. And so then I start doing something else. Paul, for me, likes the idea of a show that I could just sort of walk into with no prep. Funny story, that's what this show is supposed to be. Because I thought, well, I will have already done the prep, for Mac OS Ken. And so then it just rolls straight in, right? I hated improv when I did theater. I didn't do a lot of theater. I hated improv when I did theater. And the thing is, I never have anything scripted for this show, but I always have an idea of what we're talking about. And there's a bar in my head, not through it, but in it. There's a bar in my head, and some topics just don't meet that bar. And the problem is, the longer I do something, the higher that bar gets. And suddenly the thing I was just supposed to be able to walk into becomes a thing that vexes. It tasks me, as Khan said. Khan. Anyway, I like the idea of a show that I can just walk into as well. And if you can think of one, let me know. The part that I skipped earlier, and I'll go back to it. And this was something that everybody said. There are more people listening to this show than show up live every day. Significant number more. But it's the people who are here live. And it's not like I don't care about the people who are, downloading the podcast, but the people who are here live are the thing that make it really the best part of my day. And also the part that makes it hardest to stop. What Tim wrote earlier was, you have a special group of people that join you every day. And I'm thankful that they made me feel welcome every time I made it there from the other side of the planet. If you get this before the show, please say goodbye to them for me. Well, Tim's not going anywhere, but he says goodbye. Yeah. All right. So there are two people. Is Frank here? There are two people here today in particular. One's a surprise. There are two people here in particular that are key to Mac OS Ken having started. And it's interesting because that was 16 years ago now, 15 years ago now. And yet both of them tend to be on this show as well, or tend to be here in the chat room. The first one is Frank Petrie. Well, he's not the first one, but he's among the first. I don't know how to say this exactly. I guess Frank is the first one in the Mac OS Ken thing. So a lot of people know I used to do a show called Inside Mac. And then the guy who ran that show and I had a falling out. And I stopped doing the daily thing for him and couldn't decide if I was going to do anything. And Frank Petrie at Macworld 2006 said, "When are you going to go back to doing the Apple News, the daily Apple News?" And honestly, I had thought, well, I'll do a podcast at some point, but I don't think I'm going to do Apple News because other people have that covered. And what do I know? And I think one other person asked me at Macworld as well, but Frank was the guy who really made me think that there was a reason to do it. Now, Scott Shepard of Inside Mac was not. I'll put it this way. My going off by myself did not please Scott. And so, however many hundreds of people or thousands of people or whatever the audience was for Inside Mac, I knew that they would never know that I existed anymore because Scott wasn't going to tell anybody. I did this weird thing about 3 or 4 months before I stopped doing Inside Mac. My mom had a birthday coming up, and I had this crazy idea because I knew that there were these people listening to this daily podcast, and I knew that my mom was not one of them. So I was like, "Hey, I got an idea. I'm gonna set up a dummy email account. You guys send my mom a happy birthday message, right?" And then on the day of my mom's birthday, I sent her a link to the email. I told her what the password was, and like 300 people had written to my mom to say happy birthday. They didn't know my mom, she barely knew that I was doing a podcast thing. And the thing is, though, then when it was like time to start on my own, I thought, right, 300 people wrote to my mom. They might be interested in knowing what I'm doing next. And so what was probably really bad etiquette, I wrote to all of those people. And that's how macOS Ken actually got its first however many subscribers. And it grew from there. And yeah, so I have my mom to thank. And if you're in the chat room, you can thank her too, because she's been hanging out here the whole time. It's weird because we didn't mean to lie to you. I think I posted maybe on Twitter that I was going to try this live thing, and my mom turned up for the first one, and I was like, "Hey, there's my mom." And then after that, we didn't talk about the fact that my mom was here, but my mom's been here the whole time. So I'll let her identify herself, and you guys can say hey. And if any of you knew that and didn't say anything, good on you for keeping the not secret secret. It's not Chuck, by the way, in case you're wondering. This has been a tremendous amount of fun. And of course, I'm going to keep doing all the other stuff I'm doing. Paul was talking about the fact that I always want to do more. I'm probably going to take a bit of time and not do more. I might do some art. I was doing that this time last year, and then I kind of stopped. Yes, I've already had other ideas because I'm a maniac. I really like that idea of doing the live show after special events. We might do that again. Or I might just try, something different. That sounds like me too. Hey, if you're in the chat room, stick around because there's cake coming and booze. Neither of those things are happening. Got macOS Ken live again on. Nope. Sorry. Got macOS Ken again on Monday. Got in a few minutes again on Monday. Gonna try to get some sleep in there as well, and keep the feed open because if something happens, it'll happen right here. Talk to you soon. So who was it? It also wasn't Webb, by the way. Webb is also not my mom. That's Mrs. Ken's mom to you. No, it's Miss. Ms. Now, I don't know. Anyway. Get the overhead projector. Yes, indeed, Frank. So here's a bummer of a story. Last day of either fifth grade or sixth grade, I can't remember which. Last day of fifth grade or sixth grade, they showed us War of the Worlds, the old one, right? Not the Keanu Reeves crap, because I think he was probably like around 10. Yeah, so they showed us War of the Worlds, and we were bussed, and so yeah, didn't get to see the end of the movie because they started the movie late and then they stopped it in the middle for popcorn, and then it was like, yeah, so 5 minutes before War of the Worlds ends, not War of the Worlds, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm sorry, I said War of the Worlds. 5 minutes before The Day the Earth Stood Still ends, they're like, yeah, sorry, you got to go. And the thing is, that was all pre VCR, that was all pre DVD, so that's horrible. That's all I'm saying. Webb Bixby has been to Eldon, Missouri. I wasn't certain it was actually a place, so cool. Matthew asks if the AR app will insult you with a French accent when you ask questions when you're in France. If you ask them in English, probably. If you ask them in French, it will just go ahead and answer you in English. It'll actually stop you halfway through. You know how it goes. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Dow asked. He asked much earlier, so I think this is clear because I said it at the end. Yeah, the only thing that's going away, not the only. No, I just can't do the live thing anymore. Is basically it. I don't quite understand your question, John. AR apps as extensions to make sure they work together. Ah, Charles is saying plugins. Yeah, interesting. And I have Italian heritage. You can ask my mom. No, Welsh and Irish is my understanding. Although whatever. It's what people told me. Virtual graffiti NFTs. By God, Roger. That's an amazing idea. So your NFT says that you're Banksy, and then you put something up, and then people will always know it's Banksy because there's a little thing that indicates it really is. And yet it's virtual. None of it exists. Paul says, when it comes to AR, how can we use it so that people that you're looking at won't get upset? I doubt we're going to care. And that's terrible. But yeah, that goes back to the it goes back to the pardon my use of the term, the glass hole thing, right? When Google Glass was out and people hated all those people so much. Oh, there you go. Paul says the glass hole issue. Yeah, I don't think we care. I mean, I don't think it's that we don't care, but the people who are going to be wearing them are going to be wearing them, and everybody else is going to get used to it if it takes off, or they're going to get beaten up. I'll let you know what happens when I get mine because I'm already in line. I mean, I'm not, but I am. Brian likes the idea of doing a live thing after the big events. Probably have to be about the same time though, because a lot of crazy people, a lot of insane people go on immediately after the event, which doesn't really give you time to think. Paul says that's why he likes the idea of a separate device because it gives people a social cue that you're taking a video or finding out information. Yeah. See, I mean, the whole idea of I keep coming back to the food court idea. I like the idea that I can look around at a food court and know, who's gotten an A through a D, living, in California. That's a thing. Um, or, being able to see a Yelp rating or something like that. I like being able to look at it at a glance without having to stand in front of it at a glance. Um, the part that really excites me though is the art part. I mean, the part that really excites me is it's the sense of wonder and delight. John McKee, have you gotten a chance yet to play with the new thing from For All Mankind? And I won't get your answer for a while because I got to scroll down all through this. But it is so much better than the AR app they put out because it's actual stuff. And there's just something. It's a thing I talked about on today's Mac OS Ken, where for some reason you have to go in through the Apple TV app on your iOS device. But once you do, you can actually play with a bunch of different like spaceships and things. There's little white dots hovering, and I couldn't figure out what those were until I tapped one, and then that part of the ship actually does what that part of the ship would do, and it pops up a card giving you more information. It reminded me of the thing that I've talked about here before in Sansar. Um, so much better. I mean, they're starting to just throw in more stuff that gives you more of an idea of the kinds of things you might be able to do. As far as I'm concerned, they need to stop with that hovering logo thing that they do at before the media events because it never quite works right, and it also just doesn't do anything. It's just a thing that hovers there. Things like this thing for all mankind, the one that they came out with today, where you can actually look at the spaceships, that was pretty cool. I wish it was easier to get to, and what I really wish is I didn't have to hold up my phone to do it. So John says maybe if you're talking about one of the Spock helmets, right? John says, how about if the glasses came with one of those helmets with the spinning red light on top? Feels like a bit much. Because I think the idea is you need to have something that makes you not feel stupid. So maybe give it like a if you had like a cool helmet, like a Boba Fett helmet or a Judge Dredd helmet that did that. It's a fashion statement and a technology tool. Yeah, John says it's kind of a problem, right? Anything should have an indicator that recording is in progress, just like it's required on the screen of an iOS device. I remember people wanted a camera for their Apple Watch when it first came out, and you know who didn't want that was people who go to the gym, and I'm gonna guess probably women were more against that idea than men were. Just generalizing. Um, but the AR glasses are gonna have to have a camera because it's kind of what they are. That's tough. Thanks, Charles. Um, well, I'm gonna have more free time, so talk to Chuck. A Ken reaction show with an open chat would be a great thing beyond the normal pundits gather comments. That said, I'd love to see you in more Mac voices and the modern Mac Roundtable successors. Um, you know a guy. Ba, 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 ba. Another decade. Yeah, okay. All right, Frank, for you. But that's it. Just one more decade, maybe. Do do do. Tell Ken to grow his hair. My mom hates my shaved head. She doesn't hate my head, but she doesn't like the fact that I shave my head. Whatever. Now, what do you do every night at 6:30? I don't know. Now they're all being nice to my mom. Okay, good. Eugene wants to know if I've seen the day the at the end of the day the Earth stood still yet. Yes. That'd be funny. It ends? Sorry. Matthew says with the AR VR thing, like how some cities or museums have the NFC or Bluetooth thing that plays a certain cue in an app. I think that's a thing, but maybe they'll do it for AR or VR. Yeah, I would think so. I think that's a lot of what Apple is gathering and doing right now, right? I mean, yeah, it's great for getting around, but if all that stuff doesn't fold into AR, you're missing a bet. Now, I would assume that you can toggle some of it on or off, but I can't imagine you're going to have to like download every app to it. I don't know. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, try it later tonight. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to spend much time. I did it while I was writing the show. I mean, so just like a minute or two. Sorry, that's John talking about the thing and for all mankind. Um, I did it for a minute or two while I was writing the show, but I thought you would just totally groove on that once you saw it. Partly for the, I mean, just the clarity and the beauty of the AR, but then also all the space stuff too. All right. Now you guys are saying goodbye to each other. Yeah. One of you should start a live show. Chuck Joyner, I don't remember when Chuck's show is, but Chuck is doing a live show every week. And I'm sure he would be as happy to have you there as I was to have you here. So if you're not doing that, do that. All right. I'm going to go turn this around, do a thing, and then my ride's here. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you Monday, and we'll do this. We'll do something sometime. All right. Take care.